On this week's show, what is Article 4?
In the news, dramatic changes in capital gains tax could have a massive impact on the property market.
And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to this week's Property Investors Podcast. Before we get stuck into it, have you had a good week?
Yeah, it's been cool. Very busy. So last few weeks I've been in and out of London constantly. Because we've been looking for offices, as you're well aware.
I am aware.
Looking for new offices because we are relocating. And, drum roll, we have found some offices.
Tell us about it.
They are right bang in city centre on Baker Street, and they are really nice offices.
Next to Sherlock.
Next to old Sherlock Holmes.
Exciting.
It's really exciting times for the company because the company is just growing exponentially.
I suppose it kind of makes, the amount of events we're now doing down in London, it kind of makes sense to move down there, doesn't it?
100%. 100%.
Have you chosen an area that you're going to be living in? Or you've
not
sure
yet. I'm looking at a load of apartments tomorrow in Maida Vale.
In where?
Maida Vale.
I don't know where that is.
It's near Lord's Cricket Ground.
Ah.
So it's just,
nice.
it's not too far.
You going down tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm going down tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How are you getting there?
You're a dick.
You driving?
You're a dick.
Oh, you're getting the train. Okay, you're getting the train.
How am I getting there? I'm going down with Anna.
Oh, okay.
So, driving down.
Oh, good job Anna's with you. So, what are you going down to London for?
I'm looking at a school.
Oh, wow. Whereabouts? What area?
Beaconsfield.
Good. For the kids. Good.
Yeah.
I know it's so important, isn't it? The school.
Yeah, well, it's just on the edge, but it means I can get into London in about 23 minutes.
Beaconsfield's actually Hertfordshire.
It's Buckinghamshire.
Okay. I knew it wasn't London, but I thought it was near Hemel, but Hemel's on the border of Buckinghamshire.
It's on the border. Yeah. It's near.
Yeah. But no, it's pretty cool. So it's good. Are you excited for the move to London? Do you think it's going to do the business well?
Yeah.
Because we're having to invest quite a bit of money in the move because it's not cheap. But I think the growth of the business is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited. It's the capital city, isn't it? It's the main place where everything's happening. So
it's going to be that we're going to be having an event in London every single week.
Yeah.
Will it be a crash course, a fulfillment event, anything? But there's going to be something happening within our company every single week in London. So it makes sense to be there.
Yeah, I agree. It's cool. Going to be. I'm looking forward to it, and the area is lovely,
Yeah.
beautiful, and I'm really excited. All right, so let's get cracking into Article 4 then.
Yeah.
So, do you want to kind of give us an overview of? Well, first of all, why does Article 4 exist? What is Article 4?
Right. Okay. So in a nutshell, Article 4 is a boundary or an area which the local authority have enforced to stop you converting a standard residential house into a house of multiple occupation.
Yeah.
So it's basically you can still do it, but you have to get planning permission. Whereas before Article 4 came along, you could literally take a house, you could make it into a HMO without planning, up to 5 bedrooms. So you could do like a 4-bed quite easily. 5 and 6 beds, you had to get planning.
You have to get a license.
License. But now
but licenses are pretty easy to get, aren't they?
They are. Licenses are easy to get, but now you need planning as well. You don't just need a license.
If it's in Article 4.
If it's in Article 4, you have to go through a planning application, and then you have to apply for the license.
Now, realistically, it's quite hard to get, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the reason they've brought Article 4 in is because they don't want any more HMOs.
It's to stop saturation.
Yeah.
Because what was happening, like in Liverpool in particular, there's streets that are just full of HMOs, and generally HMOs do cause a little bit of disturbance. So if you've got like lots of HMOs with, let's just say a 5-bed HMO, you've got 5 different tenants, 5 different standards, 5 different ways of living, 5 different cars, 5 different this, and it can cause a little bit of disturbance to the area in the street. So if you've got a lot of HMOs in one street, perhaps it's not the I probably wouldn't want to live there.
Well, I suppose in a way, like let's say you've got a street where all the houses are worth, I don't know, £300,000 down the street. £300,000 house attracts a certain type of person.
Yeah.
So if you're turning those into 5-bed HMOs, and there's lots of them, suddenly you're changing the dynamic, I suppose, of the street.
Absolutely, and it will have I think if you've got a street full of HMOs, it might have a negative impact on the value of the properties. If you've got like a really nice residential, let's just say, like for instance, in Hull, there's a street where there's really nice large Victorian houses. They're huge, and they're worth X amount. I don't know the exact figure, but they're worth X amount of money. But they're very nice. But there's also, over the last 4 or 5 years, been a lot of HMOs being put up there because they're huge houses.
Yeah.
I can only imagine if I lived there, I'll be a little bit disappointed that all these HMOs are coming into the area, and suddenly I think the house prices might dip a little bit. So I think Article 4 is a brilliant thing.
Well, that's one advantage to it. The other advantage is, let's say you've got a HMO in that area in Hull, and you're renting it out nicely, but then suddenly every single house in the street becomes a HMO. Suddenly there's massively more competition, and you do get areas. I mean, this happened for a time in Wolverhampton. Obviously they brought it in, but you do get areas where there's just so many rooms available that you're struggling to rent many rooms out.
Do you know, I know an investor who literally, in the space of 2 months, completed on 5 properties in one particular town, all of them HMOs. And within this, so they all completed around the same sort of time. He had all the conversions done at the same sort of time. And then suddenly, he's got 5-bedroom HMOs going to market all at the same time. So you've got 25 rooms suddenly hitting a town. Didn't work. Because they filled a little bit up. So you got like an odd tenant here, there and everywhere. But because there's such an influx of rooms to an area.
It takes longer to fill.
It takes longer to fill. It takes everything. But he sort of rushed out and just went out and got them. And I know he regretted it because he then tried to sell some of them. So... I think, and that's what Article 4 is there to stop. Is to stop, it's not to stop the investor losing money. It's to stop the influx of HMO properties in a specific area without having planning permission. And I think it's brilliant because, like, what happens at like Wolverhampton, Article 4 came in September 2017.
Yeah,
sure it was.
About then.
So what happened to house prices? They skyrocketed. Like, you see what's happening in Wolverhampton and the Midlands with house prices. They were like 2, 3, 4 years ago, you could get like a 3-bed terrace for like 80 grand. Now you're talking over 120, 130 for the same house. It's now been converted to a HMO. And I know some of Samuel's properties have gone up drastically in value because they weren't in an Article 4. They're now in Article 4, and he's got grandfather rights, and they're running as HMOs. So
really, it just protects the area, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So overall, it's pretty much a good thing.
Yeah.
A lot of investors look at it as a pain because they're trying to buy a HMO and they look at it and they're like, oh, it's Article 4. Oh, but it's actually,
I don't see it as a pain. I see it as they're regulating it. I'm a responsible landlord. You're a responsible landlord. What have we got to worry about?
They're protecting the area. They're protecting the existing landlords. They're protecting
the tenants. And they're protecting the neighbourhood.
Yeah.
From just, there was a point where there was so many people just buying HMOs and just doing half-arsed conversions on them. Now, at least if they've got to go through planning and they've got to go through licensing, at least there's regulation in place and there's procedures in place and there's standards, amenity standards in place, and they're being enforced as well, which is good.
So let's say then, someone watching this show is an investor.
Yep.
They're wanting to buy a HMO. How can they use Article 4 for their advantage?
Buy somewhere where Article 4 is coming. Prime example, Doncaster. October this year, so you ain't got long. You ain't got long at all.
October 2019.
October 2019, Article 4 has been enforced in Doncaster. So it's been rolled out. At the minute, it doesn't exist. It's been rolled out in October 2019. So I've had a lot of investors been buying in Doncaster for the last year. And it might take a little bit of time for it to happen, okay? But what's going to happen is the house prices are going to go up. The demand is going to increase, but the supply is not going to go up. So over time, there's going to be more demand for HMOs because of what's happening in the area with regards to industry and all that sort of stuff. But because there's no more supply getting made, because they've regulated it and they've restricted it, what's going to happen to room prices? Room prices are going to go up. Values are going to go up.
Well, if anything,
Rooms are going to fill up quicker.
The supply will get less.
Yeah, it will, because
over time there were people that sell their HMO and someone turns it back into a family home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So over time it'll probably get less. So look for it. Now here's a question. This is a question that I ask quite a lot, and to be honest, it's actually a bit of a pain. How do you find out? Bless you.
Excuse me?
That's okay. That was a strange laugh sneeze.
Sorry.
Let's go.
Excuse me, guys.
Let's go.
Can we cut and do that again?
No.
Okay.
I'm glad that you found that sneeze so funny. So how do you find out whether an area is Article 4? Because obviously, we know, because from experience, quite a few areas. But like, for example, there's places like Wolverhampton is pretty much a blanket Article 4. Everywhere. But like places like Birmingham, Walsall, they've got tiny bits.
I can't talk at the minute because I'm going to sneeze.
That's okay. Go sneeze. Sneeze away.
Okay. Easy. Like
easy. Okay. Go on. What is it? How do you find out?
How do you find out if an area is Article 4? Well, the simplest way is to ring the local authority, because ring them and ask them. That's the easiest way. Or go on the website. Most local authorities that have Article 4 have a designated part of their website which is designated for HMOs, and it would normally have a HMO map on there of the Article 4 boundary.
Yeah.
Hull City Council has, everywhere I know that has Article 4 has. You can normally download that, so that will show you where that will show you where everything is.
Don't you find they're quite hard to read?
They are terribly hard to read, because it's like they've taken a map and just drawn a big black line around it, so you can't read the road names. But
it's just like the red.
Yeah, it is.
It's a bit of a nightmare, especially if it's like the one you're looking at is sort of borderline, because sometimes it cuts through streets. Like literally can be the odd side of the street is Article 4, the even side's not.
It really can be, and also like. It can be where, like in Hull, for instance, I forget the name of the road, but there's the massive main road going into Hull. Article 4 goes up and then goes up that way. So, like, if you've got a house there,
you're okay.
You're just outside, but the wrong side of the crossing, you're in. But just easiest way, look, ring up the HMO officer.
That's the worst case. You can ring them up, can't you? Ring up the council.
It's quick. It's the quickest way. They're very helpful. Whenever I've spoke to any HMO department at a council, they're so helpful. Because they want you to do it right. They want it done right. They don't want it done half-arsed. So ring them up and ask them. Second way would be jump on the council's website and download the map and check on the map. Third way would be just Google it. Like, is Hull covered by Article 4? And it will tell you.
Don't you think it'd be brilliant if there was a website which just had a map of all the Article 4 and you could put an address in it and would go yes or no?
Yeah.
And why does that not exist?
Because it means somebody's got to create it and then somebody's got to get paid for it, and nobody's going to pay for it, are they? Because most people want stuff for free. They don't want to pay for things. So that's the reality. Nobody's going to create it for free. So
you're tempting me now to create it for free. If it wasn't so much work, I would do it.
It's a lot of work, isn't it? You imagine the logistics to do that, and then for everyone to say, "Oh, can I have it for free?" No, jog on. I'd be like, yeah, you can have it. 50,
maybe someone listening to this.
50 quid a month.
Maybe someone listening to this show is going to go and do it. I suppose the other problem is it consistently changes.
It does. It's always moving.
It'd be a nightmare to keep updated. But
another way is to speak to other investors in the area. But yeah, it's so easy to find out.
Yeah, it is pretty easy. So you just go on Google and find it out. All right. So long story short, then, Article 4 is a good thing.
I think so.
If you're looking at buying HMOs, first of all, check the areas, not Article 4. Look for areas that Article 4 is coming in. Yeah. And then just be aware that Article 4 really is there to protect the area and also to protect you. Because if you're buying a house there, you want the area protected, don't you?
Yeah, of course
you want it to be a nice, decent area. You don't want to... so really, overall, it's a good thing. And the biggest tip, like you said, look for places like Doncaster, places where it's coming in. But now, there is a small danger with that.
Yeah.
Long term, it's good. But in Wolverhampton, because obviously we own quite a lot around Wolverhampton, what I found was... in the build-up, like I can't remember, because it's September it came in.
It was September 2017 it was enforced.
So around sort of like July, August time, loads of HMOs started coming up because everyone was buying, trying to get them ready. So for a couple of months around that sort of time, it was like really hard to fill rooms. And then it settled down, and now it's good. So it is a good time to buy, but just be aware. Yeah. For a few months, you might struggle to rent them out.
And one thing to be aware of, don't think, right, okay, so let's just say Doncaster. Article 4 comes in on, I think it's October the 1st, 2019. But if you buy a house in September 2019, and let's just say it completes in September 2019, yeah, you've bought it before Article 4 comes in, but you've got to have converted it. You've got to have all the work done and it been signed off. Or you've got to have proof that you've had fire doors, and you've got to have an AST contract in there.
Depends on the council, doesn't it?
It does.
I remember with Wolverhampton Council, they were sort of saying you need to prove you've got tenancy agreements in place.
Yeah, exactly. But other councils are just like, no, just prove you've had fire doors fitted.
Yeah.
So again, speak to the local authority. So don't just assume you can buy a property in the month before it comes in and you'll automatically get grandfather rights because your intention was to make it a HMO. You have to have done the work. It needs to be a HMO.
And grandfather rights, for anyone who doesn't know what that is?
Grandfather rights are where you've had an existing HMO in a non-Article 4 area. Article 4 has come in, you get automatic grandfather rights.
Which means that you can carry on running as a HMO.
Yeah.
So when Article 4 comes in, it basically says, from now on, you can't do it, but from before you can, yeah?
But from before you can. However, don't think just because you've got one that's been in there, that you've got to stick to the law. You've got to stick to amenity standards. You've got to stick to HMO guidelines. So you can't just have a complete dive of a HMO and then just think, oh, it's all right because I've got Article 4 grandfather rights. No, you still have to apply, adhere to the laws and the regulations.
Yeah, makes sense.
Be a responsible landlord, guys.
We will. Right, it's now time for this. Okay, in the news this week, we're looking at a dramatic change in capital gains tax, which could have an impact on the property market. Would you like me to read some of the article out to you?
Sure, man. Let's listen.
Okay, so this is on the Property Industry Eye. Second homeowners, landlords, and property investors are warned of a dramatic change to the current capital gains tax. So basically, I'll read it. The new rules that anyone selling a property after the 6th of April 2020.
Okay.
So you got a little bit of time.
Tax year.
Where capital gains tax is due, will have to pay the tax on any gain within 30 days of completion. At the moment, the deadline is January the 31st, following the end of the year in which the sale was made.
Well, hold on. So they have to pay the tax a lot sooner now. 30 days.
Potentially. Well, let's say you bought a property in January.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to pay it until the following January.
But now you got
31st.
Now you got to pay it 30 days later.
Yeah.
Oh, government are getting desperate.
Yep. So this will affect buy-to-let investors and owners of holiday homes, plus others who may have found themselves as an accidental owner of a second property. A legal tax specialist in Royd's Withy King's Private Wealth Team is urging owners of more than one property to carefully consider the impact this might have. He said, the change could mean that sellers have to get funds in place to cover the capital gains tax liability before the sale is completed, as 30 days is not very long at all.
No.
This could be a particular issue where there are large historic gains. Landlords, investors and second homeowners thinking of selling one or more property in the next couple of years are well advised to get professional advice at an early stage to make sure they understand and can meet their liabilities.
Again, it's just the council having another stick to beat us with, isn't it? It's not the council, the government. It's just another stick for the government to smack us with.
Just something to be aware of, really, when you're, especially for a larger houses built, just to be aware when you're selling it. I mean, in many ways, it makes no difference. In many ways, because you're still paying the same amount of tax. Yeah,
I know, but if you're, like they said, that advice was to get your funds in place before you sell it.
That might not be possible.
Yeah. And people might need that. It's like with PAYE tax. So like you do your corporation tax, your business, your year end comes to date. You've got a period of time to get the tax to sort it out and get it ready. But now, it's just to me it screams desperation from the government. They're trying to get as much money in as possible quickly, so they can spend it on holidays and ironically second homes.
So. I don't think they spend it on second homes. I think they just spend it on putting us in billions of pounds worth of debt and Brexit negotiations and all that sort of jazz. But
I don't know.
There you go. I don't know how it's going to affect you or not, but there you go. That was your news.
Very interesting.
It's now time for this. Okay, it's now time for questions and answers. First question coming in from Alexander Filimonov. How do you tell a good solicitor from a bad solicitor?
I don't know. How do you? Is this sounds like a joke?
It does sound like a joke. I'm sure there's some
Is there
clever
a punchline?
How do you tell a good solicitor from a bad? It does really sound like a joke, doesn't it?
It does.
I reckon
yeah.
if I Google it, it'll come up with an answer for that. How do you tell a good solicitor from a bad solicitor? Well, I find solicitors have two speeds.
Mm-hmm.
Slow and stop.
Yeah.
So you continually having to chase them. Especially property solicitors in particular seem to be very slow, don't they?
Terrible.
Why is that? Is it because it's not urgent to them?
To them, it's not urgent because but do you know what? It's like when you're buying a property, right? All you want them to do is just pull their finger out and get on with it. Because do you know in the States, when you're buying a house, it can be completed in like 3 weeks. It's so quick. But here it just seems everything takes so goddamn long. 3-4 months is not uncommon.
I think it depends what you want it for. See, I know solicitors who are really, really good when it comes to the techie stuff.
Yeah.
But they're slow for normal stuff.
I think perhaps what it is they're waiting. There's too many people involved. So there's all different parties involved. So you've got the seller, the seller, the buyer, the buyer's solicitor, the seller's solicitor, the seller who's got to send documents, the buyer who's got to send documents, the estate agent. There's too many people involved in it. And if one person's like, oh yeah, I'll do that tomorrow, everything just drags on and on and on. And I think another thing is generally people that ask that question are people that are looking for a cheap solicitor. They're looking for the cheapest out there. And I mean, I've always been taught you pay cheap, you pay twice with everything. So I think if you're going to go for professional services, to me, cost wouldn't even come into it. If you want a speedy, you can listen. There's a thing, isn't there? You can have it cheap, but it won't be quick. You can have it quick, but it won't be cheap. Do you know what I mean? Spend the money.
Isn't that the thing? There's 3, isn't there?
There's another one, but I can't remember what it was.
Is it good?
Yeah, you can have it good and it won't be cheap or something like that.
Good and quick.
Yeah.
But then it won't be cheap.
That's it. You pick 2 of them, didn't you?
Yeah.
What do you want? Do you want it good and quick, or do you want and whatever?
Good and quick, but it won't be cheap. Cheap and quick, but it won't be good.
Yeah.
Or good and quick, but it won't be cheap.
Yeah.
Something
It's just one of these things. I see on like the Property Investors with Simon Leeds Facebook group all the time. People posting, "Oh, I'm looking for a cheap solicitor."
I would say go on a recommendation, and you often get a good idea of how they deal with you in the very, very early stages about whether they're going to be speedy or not. For just a normal buying a house, any property solicitor will do it. But if it's something more complicated, where you're spending a lot of money, then you might want to go to someone a bit more specialist who they might be able to save you money on, stamp duty.
And I would ask the solicitor when you first instruct them, look, how long are you expecting this to take? Have you got the capacity to deal with this job? If you haven't, then fine, tell me. Just be honest with me now, because I don't want to pay. Like, for instance, my brother's in the middle of sorting out a commercial lease on a property, and it's just a lease on a property, but he's got a solicitor to go through all the paperwork. So far, it's taken him 2 months. 2 months. It's ridiculous. Now he's likely going to be losing this property because the solicitors are taking so long.
You can,
and he's paid half the fee up front and half on completion, and it's just ridiculous. So I would have said to that solicitor to begin with, look, I need this done, and I need it done in 4 weeks' time. Can you do it? If you can't do it, I'm not going to use you. If you can do it, I'll pay whatever you're asking. I'll pay the going rate. So just don't be scared to pay the money, and don't try and scrimp on.
But just be very clear about what you want, and just have a frank conversation and find out if they're
very
the
much
right
so.
fit. Yeah,
very
makes
much
sense.
So.
All right, so I hope that answers your question, Alexander. Next, how can you go direct to vendor on properties that are on Rightmove to do a lease option agreement deal? And that's from Mile SYG1 from Instagram.
Okay.
Obviously not Facebook. That's hopefully not his real name.
Well, look, we teach about sort of trying to do things ethically. So I would. There's many ways to do it. A little tip is try and book viewings in the evening. So most estate agents don't work past 4:30. They don't do viewings past 4:30, do they? I mean, not often. I've had a few at 6, but like generally
Depends where you are. They do in London.
In London, yeah, but not where we're looking for investment properties up north. They're not
up north, they probably don't do it past like 2 p.m.
Be careful, right? Okay, so I normally try and book viewings. If I'm wanting to do a specific thing with a property, like a lease option or whatever, I would book a viewing later in the evening. And so when you're speaking to the estate agent, just say to them, look, I'm in the area tomorrow. The only time I can view is in the evening. Will the vendor let me come and view around it? Will the vendor show me around? And 9 times out of 10 they will, because they want to sell the house. Another little tip I would do is you should have some business cards made up. Now get them made up magnetic. Get magnetic business cards.
Okay, this is a new one. I haven't heard this one before.
Magnetic business cards.
Magnetic business cards. What, stick it on the fridge?
And when you're in a house, even if it's during the day, okay, and you're in a house and the estate agent's showing you around, just stick it on the fridge when the estate agent's not looking. And just put like, if you something like, we will buy your house or something like that. Do you want to sell your house quickly? Just bang it on your fridge.
That's the weirdest idea. I would be like freaked out.
Yeah, but just bang it on the fridge.
There's no way I'd call.
Doesn't matter. One person will. One person will.
How did you...
how did it even get there?
On my fridge?
Yeah.
Did you break in to put it on my fridge?
No, but obviously you just explained to them, well, I was on a viewing and I wanted to offer you a better deal than the estate agent would offer you. Listen, if it gets one phone call, it's worth the £9 it will cost you for like 500 magnetic business cards. It's just another little tip, man. You don't have to do it.
No, you do have to do it. If you do that and it works, please let me know. Yeah, let me know if you get abuse.
Yeah, if you get abuse, I mean, that's funny. Let us know about that as well, because that's always funny. But it's just, look, you've got to get creative. If you want to get direct to vendor leads through estate agents, you've got to get creative, guys.
I like it. It's very creative.
Yeah, I think so. Another way.
Can you even get magnetic business cards?
Yeah, I've got them, mate. I don't have them now because I don't do it anymore, but I used to do it when I first started.
Stick them on the fridge?
Yes.
Did you ever have a call?
No, probably not. It doesn't matter. Do you know what's even more fun about it? Trying to do it when the estate agent doesn't catch you, because you're trying to do it sneakily.
A bit of sleight of hand.
But you could do that. I can't
palms.
do it. You have to palm it and whack it on.
So this is a nice fridge.
Yeah.
I love that you've never had a call. Right, should we do one more from Instagram?
Yeah, and I've got loads on here.
Okay, we'll do one on Instagram, one on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
The best way to set up your team: sourcing agents, letting agents, construction solicitors, etc. From Phil Leonard Mayfarth. Phil Leonard Mayfarth.
Yep. So we're looking at setting up a power team.
I believe so. Yeah. Yes.
Again, it comes down to people, and it comes down to getting.
Did we do an episode on setting up a power team? I've got a feeling.
Maybe we can cover this at next.
Should.
Maybe we can do this in the next episode.
I tell you what, Phil. We're not going to answer your question. We'll do a podcast about how to set up a power team.
See, you've created a whole new episode, Phil. Well done. The next episode, we're going to discuss that, because it's not a 2-minute conversation. We could talk for ages about that.
All right, brilliant. There you go, Phil. Thank you, Phil. All credit, Phil.
You are going to have to watch next week's episode, though.
Sorry, Phil. Well, let's maybe he missed this one. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Anyway, thank you, Phil Leonard May.
Right. Okay, I've got some questions.
Go on, last one.
Brad Hart. Do you remember this guy?
Yeah.
He's
because every time I hear it, I think Bret Hart.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
Brad the Hitman Hart.
Yeah. So Brad was the young lad that came to the podcast live in London.
Ah.
He's like 16, 17 years old.
The one that you gave a round of applause to?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because he's 16, 17. I think he was 16. He just turned 16.
That's why.
No. Because he's from up north.
Oh, that's why.
And he took the
up north and made it down to London. Woo!
No, but he made the effort.
Right.
To come for the first time to London.
So it's because you clapped him for coming to London.
Listen, for a 16-year-old, it's a big thing, mate. Okay. He got on a train, come all the way to London, booked a hotel, stayed in a hotel on his own in the middle of London, came to the podcast live. It's a big thing for a 16-year-old to do, man. Give him a bit of credit.
I do. Well, I gave him a round of applause.
But yeah.
Well done, Brad.
Well done, Brad. So if you only had £1,000, what would you do? Well, if you gave me and Russell £500 each, we'll tell you. No, I'm kidding. Listen, £1,000, what would you do?
What, about £1,000?
Yeah. With 1,000.
Hold on, what's the situation? Like, if you just gave it me now, what to do with it?
He wants to get, like, Brad wants to get into property. He's a young lad.
So it's not what I'd do with it.
It's what would Brad? Yeah, I would blow it as well. I'm not gonna tell you what, but Brad would. All right, Brad would. What would Brad do to get involved in property?
So what? He's got nothing, and he just
£1,000.
Got nothing. You give him £1,000. Financial freedom challenge, but you start with £1,000.
Yeah.
It's not a lot, is it?
The problem you got is it's not a lot. I think with £1,000, he's got.
You're basically looking at no money down deals.
Yeah, he's got to get out there and he's got to educate and he's got. I would say use that for expenses to getting about and meeting people, and like traveling, going to networking events, going to areas, meeting agents, and like you'll find that £1,000 will probably not last that long.
You'd take it to a casino.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I'm not.
Yeah, you would.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, you would. If we did the financial freedom challenge now, we had £1,000 each. I know that the first place you'd go is the casino.
Yeah, triple it up and then go out and use it properly.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I would do it. That's the thing. Mate. Anyway,
we should film that. We should do that.
I'm very happy to. They won't let you film.
£1,000.
They won't let you film in a casino.
Will they not?
No.
What about if I'm like just like?
Oh, you could do your sleight of hand. I know
like,
what you're like.
Button.
What with
cameras?
Nick with the lights behind you. What are you doing, Nick? No. Anyway, don't matter. Right, so £1,000. Listen, man, I would get out there, get into areas, I would use it for expenses and education. Buy lots of books. Read. Do you know the most successful CEOs in the world read one book a week? One a week.
That's more than I do 2 a month.
Yeah, I said successful.
Successful.
Kidding. He's very successful. But listen, I would get out there, educate, get lots of books under your belt, get out meeting people, go to as many free events as possible. So come to the crash course as often as you want. Save. Get into the habit of saving. So that £1,000.
Would you invest that at all?
Well, hold on. Why don't we that £1,000? Brad, if you've been to the crash course, if you have, Samuel covers the T. Harv Eker money jars. You should put that into the money jars. Yeah?
Or just save it. Put it in a...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Hope you're a little bit clearer on that. You probably aren't. But I would save it, invest it.
I would invest more. I'd try and get more. Or if you're going to do a no money down deal, then you're looking at rent-to-rents, lease option agreements.
But even that, £1,000 is not really enough for a lease option.
Probably is for a rent-to-rent.
A rent-to-rent, maybe. But you've got to find it. You've got to pay a first month's rent. And if you've only got £1,000, I would say don't do it. It's too risky.
All right.
Because you want at least 3 or 4 months rent and available in the bank to waiting for that period of time.
So just keep learning and saving.
I would keep learning, keep saving, get out there, read your books, get to networking events, get meeting people, get meeting agents. Go and stand in front of an agent and tell them, look, you're 16, you're desperate to get in property, and show them that you actually want this. You'll find that agents will help you because you're eager and you're putting yourself out there. Have we got time for one more?
Go on.
Okay. This is from Gov Shergo.
Gov.
Gov. Hi guys.
Hi Gov.
What's your opinion on outsourcing tasks when you first starting out, such as building your website versus doing it yourself?
I would do it as long as you've got. If you've got no money at all, then obviously you can't. Mm-hmm. But I would do it because you're gonna get. It's probably gonna be better than if you do it yourself.
Yeah, 100%. We talk all the time about why do a £10 an hour job when you can earn £30 an hour elsewhere, or £40 an hour elsewhere, whatever. I personally would outsource as much as possible as long as you've got the budget to do so, because I'm rubbish at creating websites, so I got somebody to do it for me because I just can't do it. It's not going to be as efficient and it's not going to work as well. But I mean, we outsource a lot, don't we? Like, better sourced is a lot of it's been outsourced so that it's systemized. We just outsource. The thing is,
sometimes when you first start, it depends on your situation. When you first start a business, you'll probably do everything to begin with because you've probably got no money or whatever. But if I was starting a business now, obviously I wouldn't do that. But when you first getting started, you have to be prepared to do everything and pull your shoes up. But is that a saying?
Pull your shoes up. Pull your socks up.
Socks up. Don't put your shoes up. That wouldn't even work. You'd just be there going, nothing would happen, would it? Just they're pretty solid, aren't they, shoes?
That's like the complete opposite of outsourcing, isn't it? Because that's just fighting against yourself, isn't it?
You're putting your shoes up.
Like trying to pull your shoes on, fella. It's just nothing's going to happen. It's just wasted energy.
Your toes are just going to hurt, aren't they?
It's going to crush your toes.
So don't pull your shoes up. Pull your socks up. And sometimes you've got to just get out there, get your hands dirty.
I think so.
Pull your shoes up. And it's a new saying. I'm having it, so thank you.
Okay.
And get on with it. But other times, if you've got a bit of savings, sometimes it's better to get. But in the early days, what I would say is only get someone to do something if they do it better than you.
Yeah, bang on. Yeah. This actually goes back to Brad's question. £1,000. What would you do with it? Would you recommend he invested that in things like getting a website up and running, getting other things in place, like investing it in some other stuff? Yeah. I mean, £1,000 a lot to get a business started, and you don't need loads of money to get. Like, for instance, if you're looking to build a network and a list of investors...
that's enough to become deal sourcing compliant,
Pretty much, yeah.
So, that could be something to use for Brad, maybe.
Okay, guys, hope that was helpful. We will be answering more questions next week. And I think that is a wrap.
We're back, 7 o'clock, next Saturday. See you there.
See you guys.